My beloved child, you have stood before this door longer than you realize, not because you do not want what may be waiting on the other side, but because part of you has become afraid of what hope requires. You have placed your hand on the handle many times. You have sensed that something is changing, noticed small openings where there once seemed to be only walls, and felt moments when the future no longer appeared completely closed. Yet almost every time you begin to believe that a new season may truly be approaching, another voice rises within you and tells you to wait. It tells you that tomorrow will be safer, that another sign would make the decision easier, that one more confirmation would protect you from making the wrong choice. You call it caution because caution sounds reasonable. But beneath many of those delays is a heart that remembers what happened the last time it trusted too quickly, hoped too deeply, or believed that an open door would remain open. I know why you hesitate. I know the history behind the questions you keep asking. I remember every disappointment that taught you to examine good things as though they might be traps. I remember the promises that changed, the conversations that ended differently than you expected, the opportunities you believed were finally yours only to watch them disappear, and the moments when you wondered whether you had misunderstood everything. I know why you have learned to stand at a distance from your own hope. There were seasons when disappointment came so often that expecting less seemed easier than recovering again. You told yourself that if you did not become excited, you would not be crushed. If you remained detached, you would stay protected. If you kept part of your heart outside every new possibility, you could escape quickly if everything changed. What began as protection slowly became a way of living. You learned to move through life with one hand reaching forward and the other pulling yourself backward. You became skilled at functioning while remaining emotionally guarded. You continued working, answering people, fulfilling responsibilities, smiling when necessary, and saying that you were fine, even when there were places within you that you had stopped visiting. There are rooms in your heart where the lights have remained off for a long time, not because nothing is there, but because you became afraid of what you might find if you entered again. Some rooms contain unanswered questions. Some hold memories you never fully understood. Some contain dreams you stopped mentioning because speaking about them made their absence hurt more. Others contain prayers that once carried great expectation but eventually became too painful to repeat. You closed those doors and continued living around them. You convinced yourself that avoiding them meant you had moved on, but avoidance and peace are not the same thing. Silence is not always healing. Numbness is not always freedom. Sometimes the heart becomes quiet simply because it is exhausted from asking questions it no longer believes will be answered. Yet I have never been afraid of those rooms. I have never walked around the parts of you that you have tried to avoid. I have remained present even in places where you could no longer recognize my presence. I was there during the nights when your body was tired but your thoughts would not stop moving. I was there when you replayed conversations, wondering what you should have said differently. I was there when you checked for a message and immediately criticized yourself for still caring whether it came. I was there when the house became quiet and anxiety seemed louder than everything else. I was there when you could not find the right words to pray, when all you could offer was silence, confusion, or a tired breath. My presence was never dependent upon your ability to feel me. I did not disappear because your emotions became numb. I did not withdraw because your faith felt weak. I did not stop working because you could not see what I was doing. There are movements that begin long before they become visible. A seed breaks open beneath the soil before anyone sees green above the ground. A foundation carries weight long before the finished house reveals what was built beneath it. In the same way, there have been changes taking place beyond what your eyes could measure. Something that once seemed completely blocked may not be as immovable as it appeared. A path you assumed had ended may be beginning to reveal itself again. An answer you thought had passed you by may be closer than your exhaustion has allowed you to recognize. But because you have been disappointed before, you keep looking at every possibility through the lens of what went wrong in the past. You ask for a sign, and when something becomes clear, you ask whether it is clear enough. You seek confirmation, receive it, and then search for another confirmation to confirm the first. You ask several people what they think, examine every possible outcome, and try to remove every uncertainty before taking even one step. When no one can promise that you will never experience pain again, You return to the familiar place and tell yourself that staying there must be wisdom. But wisdom is not the elimination of every risk. You were never promised a life in which every hallway would be fully illuminated before you entered it. Sometimes you will be given enough light only for the step directly before you. Sometimes the direction becomes clearer only after you begin moving. This does not mean you should become careless. I am not asking you to trust every voice, accept every invitation, or walk through every door simply because it opens. Not everything that appears is meant for you, and not every opportunity deserves your agreement. There is a difference between courage and recklessness, just as there is a difference between discernment and fear. What comes from me will not require you to betray your conscience in order to obtain it. It will not demand that you abandon truth, surrender your dignity, or become someone smaller so that you can be accepted. It may ask you to be courageous. It may stretch you beyond what feels familiar. It may require a step before you possess every answer, but it will not need chaos to control you. I do not manipulate you through panic. I do not need terror to make you obey. When every voice around you seems urgent, allow your inner world to become still enough to notice what remains when the noise settles. You do not need to make every important decision while your heart is racing. You do not need to confuse pressure with guidance. There is a quieter clarity available to you, but you will hear it only when you stop demanding that certainty remove every possibility of disappointment. You have been standing at this door asking whether you are ready, whether you have waited too long, whether you misunderstood the signs, and whether the moment will disappear if you do not respond perfectly. I am telling you that perfection is not what is required. Presence is required. Honesty is required. Willingness is required. You do not need to understand the entire hallway before touching the handle. You do not need to see the final room before taking the first step. The invitation before you is not to rush blindly into the unknown, but to stop allowing yesterday's fear to make every decision about tomorrow. Look again at what is before you, not through the eyes of the person who was wounded then, but with the awareness of the person standing here now. The door has not been placed before you to frighten you. It is there because remaining forever in the hallway was never meant to become your life. There is something you must understand about the season that seemed to take far longer than you expected. The delay was not always rejection, and the silence was not proof that nothing was happening. You looked at the months and years that passed and wondered why the door did not open when you first prayed, why the answer did not arrive when you felt ready, and why you had to keep walking through the same emotional hallways when you believed you had already learned enough. You saw walls and assumed you were being denied. You saw waiting and assumed you had been forgotten. But there were things within you that needed to become strong enough to carry what you were asking to receive. A larger room requires a stronger foundation. Greater responsibility requires deeper stability. A new season cannot be sustained by an identity that still believes it does not deserve to remain there. If I had placed you inside certain blessings before healing the beliefs you carried about yourself, you might have entered them like a temporary guest, always expecting to be asked to leave. You might have received something beautiful while secretly believing it belonged to someone better, stronger, more worthy, or more prepared. You might have spent the entire season trying to prove that you deserved what had already been given to you. That is why some of the work had to begin beneath the surface. Before the outside could change, the foundation within you had to be examined. There were words buried in that foundation that did not come from me. Some were spoken by people whose opinions carried more weight than they should have. Others were formed through disappointment, rejection, comparison, failure, or abandonment. You heard certain messages so many times that eventually they no longer sounded like the voices of others. They sounded like your own voice. You began repeating them without realizing where they had come from. You told yourself that you were too slow, too difficult to love, too damaged to begin again, too late to change direction, too weak to carry responsibility, or too ordinary for anything meaningful to happen through your life. You may not have spoken those sentences aloud, but they influenced the way you entered rooms, the opportunities you considered possible, the relationships you tolerated, and the expectations you allowed yourself to have. You called those beliefs realism because they had been with you for so long. But familiarity does not make a lie true. An echo can sound convincing when it has repeated for years, yet it is still only an echo. I do not build your future on echoes. I am rebuilding the house within you with truth. Where you once believed you could never change, I am teaching you that you can learn. Where shame told you that your past disqualified you, I am showing you that you can begin again without pretending that the past never happened. Where rejection convinced you that love must be earned through constant performance, I am teaching you that healthy love does not require you to disappear in order to keep it. Where failure taught you to expect defeat before you begin, I am restoring your ability to take a step without carrying every old judgment into the next room. You do not have to destroy everything you have become in order to heal. I do not despise the ways you tried to survive when you had little strength and little understanding. I saw you doing the best you could with what you knew. I saw the mornings when you got out of bed even though your heart felt heavy. I saw the days when you cared for other people while your own emotions had nowhere safe to rest. I saw the times you remained silent because you feared that one more argument might break something beyond repair. I saw how hard you tried to keep your family, your work, your responsibilities, your promises, and your faith from collapsing while you were quietly carrying more than anyone around you understood. Those efforts were not invisible to me, but surviving cannot remain the highest goal of your life. You were not created only to keep the walls standing through another storm. The house within you was also meant to receive light, peace, joy, and something new. Healing does not require you to deny what happened. Forgiveness does not mean calling wrong behavior right. Moving forward does not mean pretending the wound never existed or acting as though the people who hurt you did nothing serious. You do not have to rewrite your history in order to deserve a future. I can redeem what happened without approving what caused the pain. I can use the places that were broken without saying they should have been broken. I can take a room that once held shame and turn it into a place of compassion. I can use the loneliness you once endured to make you more able to recognize another person who is quietly suffering. I can use the nights when you believed no one understood you to deepen the tenderness with which you now see others. This is not the glorification of pain. Pain is not holy simply because it happened. But what was meant to diminish you does not have to remain meaningless forever. There is another truth you need to receive. Your healing does not erase anyone else's responsibility. Part of you has been afraid that if you recover, if you smile again, if you feel peace, or if you stop talking about what happened, then somehow the truth will disappear. You have treated the wound as evidence, keeping it open because you feared that closing it would make the injustice less real. But your freedom does not declare anyone innocent. Your peace does not excuse what was done. Your healing does not change the facts. Closing the wound simply prevents yesterday from continuing to bleed into every room you enter today. You do not have to make pain the permanent guardian of your heart in order to prove that you were once wounded. Some memories have been sitting at the head of the table for too long. Some criticisms have been allowed to speak with authority they never deserved. Some moments of rejection have been used as evidence against your entire worth. Some silences have been interpreted as proof that you are unwanted. Some delays have been interpreted as proof that nothing good is coming. But not every memory deserves authority. Not every judgment deserves agreement. Not every ending defines the whole story. I am teaching you to choose what is permitted to remain in the house within you. You can keep the wisdom without keeping the shame. You can remember the lesson without reliving the wound every day. You can acknowledge what happened without allowing it to become your identity. You can honor how far you have come without remaining emotionally bound to the place where the journey began. There is still more within you than what was damaged. The storm did not destroy everything. Patience remains. Compassion remains. The ability to love remains. The capacity to hope, though buried, remains. There are parts of your foundation that survived even the seasons you thought had ruined you completely. I am not asking you to become someone entirely different. I am restoring what was always meant to be true beneath the fear, the labels, the disappointment, and the voices of others. You are not merely the sum of what happened to you. You are not the name someone gave you when they were angry. You are not the opportunity you lost, the person who left, the mistake you made, the season that did not work, or the prayer that seemed unanswered. Those things belong to your story, but they do not possess the authority to define the person who will walk into what comes next. The foundation is being strengthened now, not so that you can live forever examining the past, but so that when the next door opens, you will no longer enter as someone begging to be allowed to stay. You will enter with the quiet understanding that you do not have to perform for your place, apologize for your existence, or carry old accusations into rooms where they were never invited. What I am rebuilding within you is meant to become strong enough to hold peace without distrusting it, love without constantly testing it, responsibility without losing yourself inside it, and blessing without believing that it must eventually be taken away. The waiting has not been empty. The inner work has not been wasted. Brick by brick, truth is replacing what fear once built, and the house within you is becoming strong enough to welcome the life you once believed you had missed. Now that you are beginning to see yourself differently, you must also recognize the quieter patterns that have kept you from moving freely. Not every barrier announces itself with panic, confusion, or obvious fear. Some of the strongest barriers have learned to sound reasonable. They speak calmly. They use the language of caution, responsibility, preparation, and wisdom. They do not tell you to abandon everything or run away. They simply suggest that you should wait a little longer, check one more time, gather one more opinion, prepare one more backup plan, and protect one more part of your heart before you decide. This is how doubt has remained close to you without always being recognized. It was born in seasons when trust seemed costly, when promises changed without warning, when doors opened and then closed just as you reached them, and when things you believed were secure suddenly became uncertain. I understand why you learned to hesitate. Doubt once helped you slow down when your emotions were moving too quickly. It taught you not to believe every promise immediately. It reminded you to examine what was happening before giving yourself completely. But something that once protected you can eventually begin controlling you. What once kept you from falling can later keep you from moving. Doubt becomes dangerous when it no longer helps you discover truth, but instead keeps you searching because you are afraid of what truth might require you to do. You reread messages, searching for meanings that may not be there. You replay conversations, wondering whether a pause, a word, or a change in tone means something is about to go wrong. You look at a good opportunity and immediately imagine every possible way it could fail. You receive kindness and question the motive behind it. You hear encouraging words and feel uncomfortable accepting them. You keep one foot outside every new possibility so that, if something demands commitment, you can tell yourself that you never fully entered. You call this managing risk, but often you are allowing the past to determine how fully you are willing to live in the present. I am not asking you to abandon discernment. Discernment is necessary. It watches carefully, asks honest questions, considers what is true, and then reaches a decision. Doubt behaves differently. Doubt keeps observing because it does not want to decide. Discernment asks questions so that clarity can increase. Doubt asks more questions after clarity has already arrived because accepting the answer would require courage. Discernment can recognize that something is not right and then walk away with peace. Doubt can recognize something good and still whisper that it will probably fail. One produces clarity, the other produces fog. One helps you move wisely, the other keeps you standing in the same place while convincing you that endless hesitation is maturity. You must learn to recognize the difference by what each one produces within you. Fear of disappointment has also taught you to resist hope. Somewhere along the way, you began believing that expecting less would hurt less. You thought that if you did not become excited, you could protect yourself from loss. But refusing to hope does not remove pain from life. It only causes you to experience pain before anything has happened. You begin a new day as though bad news has already arrived. You distrust peace because you assume it must be temporary. You treat kindness as though it is hiding another motive. You prepare for endings in the middle of beginnings. You search for escape routes while something good is still taking shape. This way of living exhausts your heart because you are repeatedly paying the emotional cost of events that may never occur. Hope does not mean pretending everything will happen exactly as you desire. It does not mean ignoring reality or believing that disappointment is impossible. Hope means knowing that whatever happens, you will not be abandoned inside it. If a door opens, you can walk through it without losing yourself. If a door closes, you can continue without believing your entire future has disappeared. You do not need a guarantee that you will never experience pain again. You need to know that pain no longer possesses the authority it once had over you. Alongside doubt, another habit has grown quietly within you: the need to control. It began because there were moments when life changed without your permission and situations in which you felt powerless. You learned to anticipate every possibility. You watched faces, tones, schedules, messages, and patterns. You tried to predict what others might do so that nothing could surprise you again. You created backup plans for backup plans. You believed that if you prepared carefully enough, you could prevent yourself from ever feeling helpless. But control does not create true safety. It creates exhaustion. It forces you to stand guard over every door and window at the same time. It convinces you that if you stop monitoring, reminding, correcting, planning, or worrying, everything will collapse. You begin carrying responsibilities that do not belong to you. You solve problems others should learn to solve. You make decisions for people and then become frustrated when they do not mature. You reshape yourself around other people's moods so that conflict can be avoided. You say that everything is fine while quietly recording every disappointment. You believe you are preserving peace, but inside, you are becoming tired, tense, and smaller. I did not create you to live as though the whole world depends upon your vigilance. You can be responsible without becoming consumed. You can prepare without becoming obsessed. You can care deeply without trying to control every outcome. You can offer guidance without forcing someone to follow it. You can do your part without carrying the consequences of another person's choices as though they were your own. There is a new way I am teaching you. What belongs to you, do faithfully. Speak truthfully. Keep your commitments. Make the decisions that are yours to make. Take responsibility for your actions. But what belongs to another person, return to them. Allow them to choose. Allow them to learn. Allow them to carry what their choices produce. And what belongs to me, stop taking into your own hands and then calling the resulting exhaustion devotion. You do not have to know what everyone will do next. You do not have to guarantee tomorrow before you can sleep tonight. You do not have to solve the same problem repeatedly in your mind to prove that you care. Rest is not irresponsibility. Releasing control is not neglect. Sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is recognize that you have done what was yours to do and then become still. At first, that stillness may feel uncomfortable. You have lived with mental noise for so long that quiet can seem suspicious. When you stop checking, planning, and anticipating, you may feel as though something important is being forgotten. But anxiety is not the same as awareness. Anxiety runs through every hallway shouting that something may be wrong. Awareness looks directly at what is actually present, names it honestly, responds appropriately, and then stops. Panic imagines every door is on fire. Wisdom determines which door truly needs attention. I want you aware, not terrified, responsible, not tormented, prepared, not imprisoned by preparation. There will always be things you cannot predict, outcomes you cannot control, and questions that cannot be answered in advance. Freedom begins when you stop requiring complete control before allowing yourself to live. Let doubt become a question rather than a ruler. Let fear speak without automatically obeying it. Let uncertainty exist without treating it as evidence of disaster. You are learning that safety is not found in controlling every possibility. It is found in becoming steady enough to face what is actually before you, to do what belongs to you, to release what does not, and to trust that you do not need to stand guard over your entire life every moment in order for it to remain in my hands. As you learn to live with greater clarity, you must also learn that not everyone who knocks at the door of your life should be given the same access they once had. There are people you still think about when the room becomes quiet. Some were once deeply important to you. Some may still be present, yet the relationship no longer feels as it once did. Others have left and returned more than once, bringing apologies, promises, memories, or moments of tenderness that make you wonder whether you should open the door again. You have asked yourself whether another conversation might finally bring understanding, whether one more explanation could repair what has remained unresolved, or whether giving another chance would prove that your heart is still loving. I know how difficult these questions can become when affection and pain exist in the same memory. That is why I do not want you to make decisions merely because someone is familiar, because they say they miss you, or because loneliness has made the past appear gentler than it truly was. Look at the fruit. When this person comes near, do you become clearer or more confused? Do you feel respected or do you immediately begin proving your worth again? Can their words survive beyond the emotional moment in which they are spoken? Do their actions remain consistent after the fear of losing you has passed? Do not ask only whether someone has returned. Ask whether they have changed. Do not ask only whether they apologize. Ask whether humility has produced responsibility. Do not ask only whether strong feelings still exist. Ask whether the connection now produces truth, peace, maturity, and growth. A familiar knock does not automatically mean that the person outside has become someone new. An apology without changed behavior may sound beautiful while leaving the same foundation untouched. You do not have to open the door because you feel sorry for someone, because you fear being alone, or because part of you believes this may be your final opportunity to be loved. Memory can become selective when you are tired. It can show you the laughter while hiding the nights you cried. It can remind you of tenderness while minimizing the confusion that followed. It can preserve the beautiful moments and quietly remove the price you paid to keep the relationship alive. When loneliness speaks loudly, familiarity can begin to feel like destiny. When starting again seems frightening, the past can appear safer simply because you already know its rooms. But you must remember the whole truth, not only the parts that make returning attractive. Some old doors become especially appealing when you are close to entering a healthier season. A message may arrive when you feel vulnerable. Someone who ignored your needs may suddenly become attentive when they sense you are no longer waiting. A promise may appear just as you begin recovering your peace. Do not call every return a confirmation. Allow time to reveal the foundation. What is genuine does not fear honest questions. What is mature does not pressure you to decide while you are confused. What truly intends to remain will respect the pace at which trust must be rebuilt. You do not need to become hard in order to protect yourself. Hardness and clarity are not the same thing. Hardness says that no one can be trusted. Clarity says that trust must be given where character has shown it can be carried responsibly. Hardness builds walls because it fears everyone. Clarity creates doors, windows, and locks because it understands that a healthy life needs both connection and protection. Hardness says, I do not need anyone. Clarity says, I need relationships where truth can live. I am not teaching you to punish new people for what old people did. I am teaching you not to hand every new person the keys before they have shown that they know how to honor what is inside. You can remain tender without becoming unprotected. You can forgive without restoring the same level of access. You can wish someone peace without inviting them back into the room where they repeatedly created chaos. You can love from a distance when closeness would require you to abandon yourself again. Pay attention to what happens within you around certain people. Notice the relationships in which you constantly adjust your words, hide your needs, reduce your joy, or apologize simply for taking up space. Notice when another person's silence sends you into panic, when their mood determines whether you feel safe, or when you leave ordinary conversations searching through every sentence to discover what you did wrong. This does not always mean the other person is intentionally harmful. Sometimes an old wound within you is being touched, but whether the instability comes from their behavior, your unhealed fear, or both, you must face what is happening honestly. A healthy relationship does not require you to leave yourself outside the door before entering. You should not have to disappear in order to remain connected. You should not have to become endlessly agreeable to keep someone from leaving. Love does not ask you to sacrifice truth so that another person never feels uncomfortable. Kindness does not require you to allow chaos, unlimited access to your life. There will be times when you must say no without writing a long explanation. There will be moments when you must stop defending a boundary to someone who benefits from you having none. Some people were comfortable with the version of you who always answered, always rescued, always made room, and always surrendered. When you begin protecting your time, peace, and emotional health, they may say you have changed. They may misunderstand your quietness as rejection or your boundaries as cruelty. Their discomfort does not automatically mean you are wrong. A house without doors is not more loving because everyone can enter whenever they choose. It is simply unprotected. In the same way, a heart without boundaries is not always generous. Sometimes it is afraid that saying no will cause abandonment. You are learning that gentleness can have a backbone. You can be compassionate, and still refuse manipulation. You can listen without accepting every accusation. You can care without returning to a cycle that continually diminishes you. And as you learn this, pay attention also to the people who bring calm rather than confusion. You may once have overlooked them because consistency did not create the emotional intensity you had become accustomed to. They do not disappear and return. They do not make you guess where you stand. They say what they can do, and they do what they say. Their presence may initially feel unfamiliar because instability once trained your heart to associate uncertainty with passion and emotional highs and lows with connection. But peace is not emptiness. Consistency is not dullness. Love does not have to make your heart race with fear in order to be real. A trustworthy person does not need to exhaust you to become meaningful. What is healthy will not require you to destroy the foundation I have been restoring simply to keep it. It may challenge you to communicate more honestly, become more patient, or allow trust to grow slowly, but it will not demand that you return to being the one who always begs, pursues, apologizes, and accepts blame that does not belong to you. You are learning a new way of relating to others, one in which love and truth are no longer enemies. You can welcome what is genuine without abandoning wisdom, and you can release what is harmful without abandoning compassion. The goal is not to turn your heart into a fortress. It is to make it a home where peace can remain, truth can be spoken, love can grow, and those who enter understand that the key to your life is no longer handed away simply because someone knocks. There is another part of this new season that may feel more unfamiliar than you expected. Learning how to receive. You have become so accustomed to giving, carrying, helping, solving, supporting, and remaining strong that receiving something good can make you uncomfortable. When someone offers help, your first response is often to say that you can manage on your own. When someone gives you sincere praise, you change the subject or immediately point toward something you still need to improve. When an opportunity appears, you think of someone else who might deserve it more. When kindness reaches you without conditions, part of you begins searching for a way to repay it as quickly as possible so that you will not feel indebted. You have spent so much time believing that your value must be proven through usefulness that simply being cared for can feel almost unnatural. You know how to stand beside the table and serve everyone else, but when someone points to the chair prepared for you, you hesitate as though taking your place would somehow make you selfish. I want you to understand that refusing every form of support is not always strength. Sometimes it is another form of control. If you never allow anyone to help you, then no one can disappoint you. If you never reveal your needs, then no one can use them against you. If you always remain the capable one, then you never have to experience the vulnerability of depending on another person. This may have protected you in certain seasons, but it has also taught your heart that receiving is dangerous. The new door before you is not only about stepping away from what harmed you. Sometimes it is about allowing something good to enter. Receiving does not make you weak. It teaches you that life was never meant to flow only from you toward everyone else. Grace can move toward you as well. Support can reach you. Rest can reach you. Opportunity can reach you. Encouragement can reach you. Love can reach you without demanding that you immediately prove you have earned it. You do not have to pay for every sincere gesture. You do not have to explain why someone should care about you. Sometimes the healthiest response to kindness is simply to receive it and say thank you. Sometimes faith looks like allowing a trustworthy person to know that you are tired. Sometimes courage is admitting that you need help. Sometimes growth means accepting an opportunity without shrinking yourself so that others will not feel uncomfortable with your progress. You have spent too much energy waiting for certain people to validate what I have already placed within you. You thought that if the person who overlooked you finally recognized your worth, something inside you would become complete. You imagined that if the apology finally came, if the acknowledgement finally arrived, if someone finally admitted that you mattered, then the years of questioning yourself would somehow be repaired. But your life cannot remain paused while you wait for someone else to hand you permission to believe that you have value. Even if those words eventually come, they cannot return the years you spent standing outside your own life. Deeper freedom begins when you stop placing the key to your identity in the hands of people who never knew how to carry it. Their recognition may be meaningful, but it cannot become the foundation beneath your feet. You must learn to receive what is good without first demanding approval from those who once made you feel insufficient. This is why certain opportunities have frightened you even when they were good. You have looked at a door opening and immediately asked whether you are qualified enough, ready enough, strong enough, or deserving enough to walk through it. You have delayed because you believed confidence needed to arrive before action. You told yourself you were waiting for the right moment, but sometimes you were simply waiting for fear to disappear. Fear often does not disappear before the step is taken. Courage is not the absence of trembling. Courage is the decision that trembling will not make every choice for you. There are things you have postponed not because they are impossible, but because their unfinished presence has grown larger in your mind with every passing day. One phone call became something you avoided for weeks. One application became a symbol of possible rejection. One appointment became a reminder of what you did not want to face. One honest conversation became heavier each time you imagined it. One decision about your work, health, finances, schedule, or future quietly occupied more and more space within you. You kept saying that tomorrow would be soon enough, but many tomorrows accumulated into a wall. Every unfinished task began taking up a corner of your mind, asking for attention even when you were trying to rest. This is why I want you to stop measuring progress only by dramatic change. You do not need to tear down the entire wall in one day. You can remove one brick. You do not need to have every answer before you begin. You can write the first sentence. You can send the first email. You can make the first call. You can schedule the appointment that has been waiting. You can organize one small area that has become a reflection of how overwhelmed you feel. You can speak one honest sentence instead of burying the truth beneath 10 sentences of apology. You can begin before you feel completely ready. These actions may appear small from the outside, but something important happens within you every time you take a step that fear told you to postpone. You begin sending a different message through your own inner world. You begin teaching your heart that fear may speak without being obeyed. You begin remembering that you are not merely someone who reacts to whatever life brings. You can participate in the direction your life takes. This does not mean controlling every outcome. You cannot guarantee what will happen after you send the message. Submit the application, speak honestly, or accept the opportunity. The response of another person is not yours to command. The final result may still contain uncertainty, but your responsibility is not to guarantee the ending. Your responsibility is to respond truthfully to what has become clear. Small obedience has power because it moves you from imagination into reality. Fear grows easily in the world of endless possibilities because it can invent 100 outcomes at once. Action brings you back into the present. It allows you to deal with what actually happens, instead of being exhausted by everything that might happen. And as you begin taking these steps, do not overlook the good things that may begin arriving through ordinary forms. A helpful conversation may be part of the answer. A quiet opportunity may matter more than something dramatic. A person who keeps their word may be more valuable than someone who makes impressive promises. A moment of rest may accomplish something that another hour of pushing cannot. You once believed every meaningful change would arrive with unmistakable signs, but many of the most important doors turn upon very small hinges. You are learning to recognize that progress can look like accepting help without shame, resting without guilt, speaking without over-explaining, acting without complete certainty, and allowing something good to remain without immediately searching for the reason it may disappear. You do not have to earn your way into every peaceful moment. You do not have to become indispensable in order to deserve a place. There is a seat for you at the table, and there are opportunities you are allowed to receive without apologizing for being chosen. The next part of your journey will require not only the strength to walk away from what no longer belongs, but also the openness to welcome what is healthy when it arrives. Let your hands become free enough to receive. Let your heart become steady enough to accept kindness without suspicion. Let your courage become practical enough to move one small step at a time. You are not being asked to transform your entire life in a single moment. You are being invited to stop postponing the clear things, stop refusing every gift, and begin participating with honesty in the life that is unfolding before you. You have come to the place where understanding must become movement. You have looked honestly at the fear that kept you standing in the hallway, the old beliefs that weakened the foundation within you, the doubt that disguised itself as wisdom, the relationships that required clearer boundaries, and the hesitation that made receiving something good feel unsafe. Now the message becomes simpler. You do not need to solve your entire life tonight. You do not need to open every room, answer every question, repair every relationship, or understand every detail of what comes next. You only need enough honesty to recognize what must be put down and enough courage to open the next clear door. There is something you have been carrying that no longer belongs in your hands. You already know what it is. It may be the habit of checking your phone again and again because part of you is still waiting for a message that may never come. It may be an explanation you continue rewriting even though you know sending it will not create the understanding you have been seeking. It may be a commitment that once felt meaningful but has become unhealthy. It may be the habit of staying awake far too late while your mind rehearses possibilities that cannot be controlled. It may be a thought you have used for years to punish yourself, a sentence you repeat whenever something goes wrong because pain taught you to believe you must always be the one at fault. Whatever it is, name it clearly. Do not hide it behind complicated language. Do not argue with yourself for another month about whether you are allowed to release it. Simply recognize the truth. This may once have protected you, but it is no longer permitted to lead you. Some things were useful in a season of survival, but become heavy when carried into a season of renewal. You do not need to hate them in order to put them down. You do not need to deny that they once helped you. You only need to understand that your future cannot be built while both of your arms remain wrapped around everything the past placed into your hands. Release one thing, not 10. One. Then choose one small door to open. The next step may appear ordinary. It may be sending the email you have delayed. It may be making the appointment you keep postponing. It may be drinking some water, turning off the screen, and allowing your body to sleep. It may be clearing a chair beside the window and sitting quietly long enough to hear your own thoughts without immediately running from them. It may be telling one trustworthy person that you are not doing as well as you have pretended. It may be writing down what you truly want rather than what would make everyone else comfortable. It may be speaking one honest sentence that you have been hiding beneath politeness, fear, or endless explanation. Do not despise the size of the step. A small action taken in truth can carry more power than 100 promises made while you remain frozen. Your emotions may not immediately agree with your decision. Your hands may tremble. Your mind may try to pull you backward into familiar questions. Let it speak without giving it authority. Your body and mind will learn from your footsteps. Every time you act according to what is clear rather than what fear demands, a new sense of safety begins to form. Not artificial confidence, not reckless certainty, something quieter and stronger. You begin to discover that you can move without knowing everything. You can make a decision and survive the discomfort that follows. You can release what is unhealthy without collapsing. You can receive support without losing yourself. You can rest without controlling tomorrow. This new foundation will be built layer by layer. There is no need to rush the process in order to prove that you are healed. Some rooms within you still need to be approached gently. Some memories cannot be forced open simply because you have decided to move forward. Some wounds require time, prayer, rest, careful reflection, and sometimes the help of someone trained to walk with you through what still hurts. Patience is not failure. Moving slowly is not the same as refusing to move. I am not impatient with your wounds, but neither do I want you to use patience as a permanent excuse to remain outside every room that needs light. We will move one room at a time. We will open the windows. We will clear away what has gathered in the darkness. We will preserve what still carries value and remove what has decayed. You do not need to burn down the entire house because certain rooms became painful. There are still good things within you worth protecting. There is wisdom gained without bitterness. There is compassion that survived disappointment. There are dreams that have not died but have simply been resting beneath the weight of survival. And in every room you eventually enter, you will discover that I was not waiting outside for you to become brave enough before I arrived. I was already there. I was present in the memory before you were ready to face it. I was present in the silence before you knew what it meant. I was present in the season when you believed you had been abandoned. You are not walking into any part of your story alone. This is why the greater risk is no longer opening the door. The greater risk is continuing to live outside what has become clear, simply because an old fear has learned how to imitate wisdom. You now recognize how that fear speaks. It tells you to wait forever for perfect certainty. It tells you that hesitation is always safer than movement. It tells you that protecting yourself means never hoping fully, never trusting carefully, never receiving freely, and never acting until every possible outcome has been controlled. But you no longer need to obey that voice as though it were the only voice you know. Observe without becoming paralyzed. Discern without endlessly delaying. Hope without surrendering yourself to illusion. Love without abandoning who you are. Let wisdom guide you, but do not allow fear to wear wisdom's clothing and keep you standing in the doorway forever. Place your hand on the handle of the next step. Do it without panic. Do it without trying to prove anything to anyone. Do it without the desperate fear that this is your only chance. Do it with the quiet awareness that you are not walking alone. Your hand may still tremble, but the key can still turn. The door does not require you to become another person before it opens. It does not demand perfection. It asks for presence, honesty, and willingness. Turn the key through one truthful action and allow the light to enter in the way it chooses. I will be with you in what you are leaving, and I will be with you in what you are entering. I will be present in the step, in the pause after the step, in the unfamiliar room, and in the details you do not yet know how to arrange. You do not need to carry every answer across the threshold. Carry the truth that has been restored within you. You have not been forgotten. Your past does not own you. You do not have to surrender your peace in order to receive something good. Put down what you were never meant to carry. Open what has become clear. Then rest. Tomorrow does not need to be controlled tonight. The door will still be there. The light will still be there. I will still be there. And when you finally step through, you may discover that the place you were afraid to enter was never the place where you would lose yourself, but the place where you would finally stop leaving yourself behind.